Amen. Good afternoon. At the back, can you hear me? Am I audible? Good. So today the notes were sent on the group, August camp group. They're written in Nyasha combined, so if you can just open those. How many of us don't have notes? Nyasha combined. Who doesn't have notes?
Did you send them today?
No, they were sent a while back, before the camp meeting. Yes, I sent two articles, American Revolution Part 1 and Part 2. Then they were then sent combined, because I made a promise that we were going to combine notes. So yeah, if you have American Revolution Part 1, you can open that one, because I sent it a while back. But if you have Nyasha combined, you're going to have the same American Revolution again. So I haven't began to define what it means to what's a revolution. We're going to do that in a later study. But what we want to focus on today, under the title of the American Revolution, is Jehu's Anointing. Remember, we gave an introduction of who Jehu is, right? We've all read the Bible story that mentions Jehu, right? Yes, we know the work he did, etc. So the contention is going to be showing that Jehu typifies Donald Trump, right, the 45th president of the United States, and that in the story of Jehu, you're going to see the American Revolution. One of the simplest ways of breaking it down is that what type of a power is the United States? It's a two-horn power. What are the two-horn powers in the scripture that we know that typify the United States? Middle Persia and Judah and France. What are the two horns? Sodom and Egypt. We all understand why we say that Sodom and Egypt are horns, right? Right. So for those who don't understand, because I know they're new people, a nation in the Bible is symbolized by a horn. Follow. Right? An example is if you look in the book of Daniel chapter 7, the papacy plucks how many horns? 3 horns. But those horns are described as what? 3 kings. But can you separate a king from his kingdom? No. Daniel chapter 2, the statue in Daniel chapter 2 delineates kingdoms, right? But when Daniel is illustrating or explaining that statue, he says to Nebuchadnezzar, "Thou, O king, art the head of gold." So the king represents the nation. You follow? So, what is Sodom a nation? Was Sodom a nation? Was Egypt a nation? So they are horns. It's a two-horn power. You follow? Yes. But in the story of Sodom and Egypt, Revelation chapter 11, what's Revelation chapter 11 about? Pardon? Yes, but what's the subject of discussion? The French Revolution. Right, so if Sodom and Egypt, if France typifies the United States, and in the story of Revelation chapter 11, you see the French Revolution. And if France typifies the United States, therefore it's typifying the what? American Revolution. You follow? Yes. So if you understand the French Revolution and the dynamics associated with it, you're going to understand how the American Revolution is going to play out. You follow? So what we're going to do is do a revision of what we did yesterday. Right? So I'll be asking questions as we go. Now, when we're looking at Abraham's covenant prophecy yesterday, what are some of the things that we're identifying in connection with the number 30? We're plugging the number 30 from 9/11 to midnight, right? We showed that this is Abraham living where? Haran, right? And then 30 years later, what happens? Isaac is weaned, right? 30 years later. And then we showed that Christ is baptized when he's how old? 30. And what happens to the heavens? They are open. Where else in the Bible did we then go to show the opening of the heavens? Ezekiel 1. And on which day is Ezekiel seeing his vision when the heavens are open? 5th day of the 4th month, which we said was what in the Millerite history? July 21. Which the Millerites identified as what? Midnight. So the baptism of Christ can be marked where? At midnight. So the number 30 becomes a symbol that you can plug where? At midnight. We follow? Yes. So Isaac is weaned at midnight. And when Isaac is weaned, what does Ishmael begin to do to Isaac? To persecute him. So what begins at midnight? A persecution. Is there anyone who's famous for being persecuted at midnight in the Bible? Christ, right? What did we say happens to God's people at midnight? They are bound. They're bound, but they are reviewed, right? And we plug the number 30, the taking away of the daily at 9/11, right? Remember, Brother Tali was showing us that the daily can be a symbol of a power that's restraining the papacy. Was there restraint removed at 9/11, which is giving the papacy, which gave the papacy leverage? Yes. What's that restraint? How do we see that restraint being removed? The Patriot Act. The Patriot Act changes the what from what? English law to Roman law. So, do you see Protestantism being removed at 9/11?
Yes.
Yes. Remember, prophecy is progressive. You follow? The Sunday law doesn't come overnight, right? It's a series of culminating events. So, the removal of the Constitution can be marked at 9/11, right? The removal of the daily. You follow? We're going to look at the daily sacrifice. And our sister White has a quote where she says, the people of the United States will sacrifice the principles of our Constitution. So there's daily, I know the word sacrifice is added, and we'll get to that, but it's providential that is there. You can still keep it there and teach different truths. So this daily is removed in 508, and 30 years later you're in 538, right? And what happens with the man of sin? He's revealed, he's unhidden. And what begins in 538 to the church? Persecution, right? So we have all those things in place. And when we look at Ezra 7:9, remember, from the first day of the first month to the first day of the 5th month, how many days do you have? 120. From the first day of the 5th month to the 10th day of the 7th month, how many days do you have? 70. So number 120, the number 70 becomes symbols of the various lines. You follow? Where does Ezra arrive into on the first day of the 5th month? Jerusalem. Sister White says that the triumphal entry into Jerusalem typified what event in Millerite history? The midnight cry. You follow? So upon 2 witnesses, we can show that you can mark Jerusalem where? At the midnight cry. It becomes a symbol that you can place there. You follow? Right? And then we showed that when the bride, when who else is weaned besides Isaac? Samuel. But before Samuel was weaned, what did Hannah have to do? She had to tarry until Samuel was weaned. And when Samuel is weaned, where does he enter into? The temple. For you to enter into the temple, what needs to happen to the temple? It has to be opened. So you have a temple being opened at midnight, right? And I was suggesting, and I was saying that the opening of the temple and the opening of the heavens are interchangeable symbols. You follow? Yes. One simple illustration is, if you look at, there's a quotation, it should be, I forgot, by Sister White, where she says that study the vision of Isaiah in connection with the vision of Ezekiel, chapter 1. She says study Isaiah 6 in connection with Ezekiel 1. And when she's commenting on Isaiah 6, she says Isaiah had a wonderful manifestation of God's glory, right? He saw the temple open. You see that? Isaiah had what open to him? The temple open. But she's saying study it in connection with Ezekiel. But what does Ezekiel see? No, he sees that heavens open. So if these visions are the same vision, it means that the opening of the temple and the opening of the heavens are the same thing. We follow? So Samuel goes into the temple, so it's opened. The same time we have the heavens being opened. We follow? Yes. So the temple is open and he abides forever. What did you say it means that he's abiding forever? He's sealed. He cannot be moved, right? He's settled into the truth permanently, right? That's the culmination of the sealing of the priest, right? Now, what else did you touch on yesterday? Yeah, we saw that. So there's a tarrying that ends where? At midnight. The virgins were tarrying up until the bridegroom came at what time? At midnight. So there's a tarry not at midnight, right? You follow? Yes. So, and then we looked at the kings, and okay, we're going to get to the kings in a minute. So let's get to the subject today. So let's go to the notes. Beginning in page 1. Right. Who would like to read? So that we make it interactive. Page 1. The first paragraph. Any volunteer? Yes, I'm agree.
We'll use this document to show truths connected with the American Revolution and the coming of the reign of terror. We'll seek to show that the anointing of Jehu is at midnight, and it typifies the constitutional convention at midnight when the Protestant denominations will be aroused to begin to seek an amendment to the current U.S. Constitution in response to a strike by Russia. We'll first put some basic plans in place, which are pillars that we already have and have been in the public domain for a while. One key important argument is how October 22 typifies the Sunday law. Sister White connects the Sunday law with the siege of AD 66 by Celsius.
Okay, oh, please read the next quotation as well.
Before the destruction of Sodom, God sent a message to Lot, "Escape for thy life, look not behind thee, neither stay thou in all the plain, escape to the mountain, lest thou be consumed." The same voice of warning was heard by the disciples of Christ before the destruction of Jerusalem. "When ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains." Luke 21, verses 20 to 21. They must not tarry to secure anything from their possessions, but must make the most of the opportunity to escape.
Okay, please just pause there. Let's just comment on this, then we'll read on. So do you see what this quotation is saying? Sister White takes how many lines? She's taken the line of the Lord, right? And combined with the line of the disciples. Both of them had to escape for a desolation. You follow? Yes. And she's saying that before the destruction of Jerusalem, the disciples were to what? Flee and tarry not. We follow? Yes. So before the destruction of Jerusalem, there's a command to flee and to tarry not, and escape into the mountains. Same thing that happens with Lot, because desolation was coming after. Right? Okay. Please read on.
There was a coming out, decide the separation from the wicked, and escape for life. So it was in the days of Noah, so with Lot, so with the disciples prior to the destruction of Jerusalem, and so it will be in the last days. Again, the voice of God is heard in a message of warning, bidding his people separate themselves from the prevailing iniquity.
PP 166. The number 66 there. Read on.
The state of corruption and apostasy that in the last days would exist in the religious world was presented to the prophet John in the vision of Babylon, that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. Revelation 17:18. Before its destruction, the call is to be given from heaven. Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. As in the days of Noah and Lot, there must be a marked separation from sin and sinners. There can be no compromise between God and the world, no turning back to secure earthly treasures. You cannot serve God and mammon.
So we see Sister White then adds an extra line. Which one? Yes, Noah and the Sunday law. Do you see that? Because she quotes Revelation 18:4. Come out of her, my people. Right? That she be not what? Partakers of her things. So at the Sunday law, people are told to separate. Because what is coming? Plagues. Destruction, right? So if you're to follow the logical sequence, this is the line of Noah, of Lot, right? Lot here is told to escape, right? Why? Because destruction was coming here, right? What are the disciples told to do? Escape. Because what was coming? Destruction of Jerusalem, AD 70, right? So she then puts what here? Noah, but the Sunday law. Come out of all my people. 18 verse 4. Because what was coming? The plagues. Right? Plagues. There is someone to read the next explanation. I'm explaining stuff that's in the document. So someone can read. Who wants to read? Sister White is tying. Or we can do a class where we set up and go around.
Sister White is tying the destruction of Sodom, Jerusalem, and the destruction of the world in our time as one unit of thought. You can also see that she is lining up the siege of AD 66 with the Sunday law, and then she is also lining up the destruction of Jerusalem with the seven last plague. You can see that she first gives the warning of the siege in AD 66, as coming in advance of the destruction in 70. Then she does the same by using the Sunday law as a warning of come out of her, my people, that ye be not partaker of her plagues, which are God's indignation, just like how AD 70 was a fulfillment of Deuteronomy, which identified God's indignation. At the siege in AD 66, the people are told to tarry not and flee because desolation connected with the number 70 will follow afterwards.
Do you follow that logic? Mm-hmm. Right? You see that tarry not, flee because desolation is coming. Right? AD 70 is coming. AD 66 is the warning. You follow? So I'm saying the desolation is connected with the number what? 70. We follow? The number 70. But what did we say about numbers yesterday? Yes, symbols, but which other number can we say is the number 70, which is not the number 70? 7. 7 last plagues. Right? You see? That's why it's key to get these principles. 7 last plagues, AD 70. And when you do a study on Deuteronomy and Leviticus 26, you can show that Deuteronomy was fulfilled at the destruction of Jerusalem. If you study Deuteronomy 28, because the Lord promises to send a nation of fierce countenance, which is Rome, right? But if you read Deuteronomy 28, the destruction of Jerusalem is actually called plagues. If you take time to read that chapter, it's called plagues. So there's a connection there. But do we follow the logic so far?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Next quotation. Read the boldface, whoever is reading. Sorry, go to the bold, to the bold. To the bold, as the approach.
As the approach of Roman armies was a sign to the disciples of the impending destruction of Jerusalem, so may this apostasy be a sign to us that the limit of God's forbearance is reached, that the measure of our nation's iniquity is full return.
Okay. Now, this is from 5 Testimonies 451, paragraph 2 for those watching who don't have this. So do you see what Sister White has just done here? She's showing us that AD 66 is the Sunday law. Did you see that? You saw that connection, right? AD 66 is the Sunday law. She says, so may this be a what? A sign. So what's AD 66? It's a sign. And it was a siege, right? Jerusalem was encompassed with armies, right? So it's a sign. So at the Sunday law, you can put what? AD 66. And the people are told to tarry not and flee. Come out of her, my people. We follow. Tarry not. Come out of her, my people. Separate. But when we first began this, we were trying to show how October 22 typifies the Sunday law, right? Which angel arrived on October 22? The third angel. And what is the warning? But when is that going to be an issue? At the Sunday law, right? But on October 22, how did Christ come to the Father? According to Daniel 7. In the clouds, right? Were those clouds stationary or they were moving? Yes, because he was going there, right? Yes. So they were moving, right? They saw him coming in the clouds, right? So the clouds were moving. What does it mean in the Bible when a cloud moves?
It's time to move.
It's time to move. In the book of Numbers chapter 9, when the children of Israel, what were they supposed to do if the cloud stopped moving? They're supposed to tarry. Is 9/11 the tarrying time? Yes. So if the cloud moves on October 22, which is AD 66, it means that you are to tarry not. We follow. So October 22 is the Sunday. We follow. We follow. Tarry not. Because Christ came in the clouds. In Daniel 7 to the Ancient of Days. Yes.
You said October 22, you said October 22 lines of 86.
Because they both typify the Sunday law. Is the point.
I thought it was the sign before the destruction.
October 22 and AD 66 both typify the Sunday law. Because the characteristics are the same. There's a tarry not and a flee. And when the cloud moved on October 22, it's showing you that you are to tarry not. And the third angel came on October 22 and is warning that it's against the mob, which is perfectly fulfilled at the Sunday law. Okay, so now that we've put that in place, I'll read the next part of the document. Sister White, upon another witness, connects the Sunday law with the siege of AD 66. And this is the point when the USA repudiates the principles of its government by passing a Sunday law. So the siege is connected with the constitutional breach. So line upon line, it means the sieges in the Bible typify a constitutional breach. Follow that logic. Because AD 66 was a siege, right? But Sister White is saying it's typifying the Sunday law. When the United States shall repudiate its principles as a Protestant and a Republican government. Protestantism is one horn, Republicanism is another horn. So the two horns of the United States are broken at the Sunday law. And she's saying it has been typified by AD 66. And AD 66 was a siege. So when you see the sieges in the Bible, you can take them as a symbol of a constitutional breach. We follow. Because what? For the United States to pass the Sunday law, they have to repudiate the principles of their constitution. And Sister White says that the Sunday law has been typified by what? AD 66. And in AD 66 it was a siege. So if this siege is typifying the Sunday law, therefore the siege is a constitutional breach. We follow? Yes. So I'm saying line upon line in the Bible, you can look at the sieges that you see in the Bible as illustrations of the constitutional breach in the United States. We follow? Because there are studies that you can then do, which we're going to get into. We're going to line up in the following studies the 7 times in Leviticus 26. Manasseh, Jehoiakim, Jehoiachin, and Zedekiah. And you can show that Jehoiakim was besieged by Nebuchadnezzar. Jehoiachin was besieged. Zedekiah was besieged. So you can show that if you can put those kings at these waymarks, you're going to see some constitutional breaches at these waymarks. Do we follow? Yes, it's something that we'll do, but I'm just identifying that for now. So let's read on. So the siege is connected with the constitutional breach. So line upon line, it means the sieges in the Bible typify a constitutional breach. We know that the characteristics of the Sunday law repeat at the midnight cry. So we said here, this is AD 66, right? Sunday law. But what I'm saying is that the characteristics of the Sunday law can also be seen where? At the midnight cry. Do you see what we're trying to do? We're taking the characteristics here at the primary application, which is the Sunday law. And what are we now doing? We're bringing them back at a fractal level. You see that? First establish the primary, then you work backwards. Taking those characteristics at the primary, bringing them back one step, another step. Until we get to midnight, that's what we want to do. That's why I had to build the characteristics first here. We follow. Then we work back. So I'm now saying here, we know that the characteristics of the Sunday law repeat at the midnight cry and midnight based on an understanding of fractals. We know that the midnight cry is about marriage, and Sister White says marriage and the Sabbath are what? Twin institutions. So at the midnight cry, we want to see a constitutional breach. Because of the Sunday law, because the Sunday law is connected with the repudiation of the Constitution, it is about the Sabbath, and marriage and the Sabbath are twins. We follow that? So, we said there's a constitutional breach here, right? But Sister White says that marriage and the Sabbath are twin institutions. What's the controversy about the Sunday law? The Sabbath. But what's the midnight cry about, just by the name? It's about marriage. So we're saying they are twin institutions. So if they're twins, it means they are there together. So if you see this is marriage and Sabbath, and they're twins. So where you see an issue of marriage here, what else should you see connected with it? Sabbath. We see that. So the characteristics here can be found where? Here. So this can be 80 what? 66. We're going back. We follow. Back at a fractal level. And then here we're reading on. Everyone, are we together? Okay. So to pass a Sunday law, there needs to be a constitutional debate. The midnight cry and midnight are identical because Samuel Snow gave the same message at Exeter. The midnight cry which he gave at Boston on July 21. Remember what we mentioned yesterday. What's identifiable about midnight and the midnight cry? They are the same. What message did Samuel Snow give here? Behold, the bride will come in. What message does he give at the midnight cry? So if we're saying that, if you can bring the characteristics of the Sunday law back to the midnight cry, and you can show that midnight and the midnight cry have got similar characteristics. So what can you do to the characteristics of the Sunday law and the midnight cry? You can bring them backward to midnight. Do you follow the logic? Yes, we're just building on principles that we had to establish yesterday. We follow? Yes. So, what should you expect at midnight? Some type of Sunday law, typifying a constitutional breach, right? At a basic level. A constitutional breach. I believe there's some type of Sunday law, but probably Russian one. But you see a constitutional breach there, nonetheless, right? Okay, so let's read on. So at that level, we ought to see some type of constitutional breach at midnight in the USA. This can be shown in lots of ways, like the last 3 kings of Judah, for example. But I will not labor on that one now. We have shown that in AD 66 there is a tarry not and flee, which typifies the Sunday law. Thus at midnight we can also see a tarry not and flee. One simple argument is that the bridegroom comes at midnight, which marks the end of the tarrying for the virgins of Matthew 25. And we've already shown that when the bridegroom comes at midnight, the people will do what? They tarry not. You follow? So I'm saying midnight is AD 66. Right? It's the siege of Jerusalem. You follow? Yes. So now, someone should read the next one. 2 Kings, chapter 9, verse, in the notes.
2 Kings chapter 9, verse 1. And Elisha the prophet called one of the children of the prophets and said unto him, Get up thy loins and take this box of oil in thine hand and go to Ramoth Gilead. Verse 2. And when thou comest thither, look out there Jehu the son of Joshaphat, the son of Namshi, and go in and make him arise up from among his brethren, carry him to an inner chamber. Then take the box of oil and pour it on his head and say, Thus saith the Lord, I have anointed thee king over Israel. Then open the door and flee and tarry not.
You see that? That's why I was stressing on that point. The structure is important, right? So, who does Elisha send to do this work? One of the sons of the prophet, right? The son of, So yesterday we said Elijah typifies which angel? First angel. Elijah typifies which angel? Second angel. By deduction, the son of the prophet has to typify what? The third angel. Now, if we follow this logical conclusion based on your agreement with me thus far, you said the Sunday Lord was being typified by which waymark in Menara Street? October 22. Which angel arrived in October 22? The third angel. But we said that the characteristics of the Sunday Lord can be seen at midnight. So which angel arrives at midnight? Huh? The third. My father looks confused. Okay, let me repeat. We agreed, right, that the Sunday Law is typified by October 22. And on October 22, what does Christ do when he moves from the holy place to the most holy? What did he have to do to go into the most holy place? Huh? He had to? Yes, you're correct. He had to open the door, right? Revelation chapter 3, Church of Philadelphia. I've said before, the open door and a shut door. So on October 22, you've got a door opening. You follow? Then you've got the third angel arriving. But if we're saying October 22 is midnight, so which angel is arriving at midnight? The third angel, right? So if one of the sons of the prophet is doing this work, which angel is he? It's the third angel. You see, the structure just fits, right? It's the third angel. So, yes, so one of the sons of the prophet is the third angel. And midnight is July 21. The number 21 is also key to identify. So, he's told to go and open the door. It's October 22, to tarry not and flee. So it's AD 66. You follow? At midnight. So this is AD 66. And AD 66 was the siege, which Ellen White says is a constitutional debate. You follow? Okay, so reading once, I'll read it again. It has already been put in the public record that Jehu typifies Donald Trump. I'll put a few more planks to support that claim as we go. But before I do that, remember yesterday what we said? We said Elisha is which angel? The second angel. And when does the second angel arrive in our time? At 9:11. So when is Elisha anointed? At 9:11. But when the command to anoint Elisha was given, was it only Elisha who was to be anointed? No. Which other two personages were to be anointed? Jehu and Haziel. But Jehu and Haziel angels. They are kings. Were they kings that were supposed to be anointed at 9:11? Yes. Who and who? Trump and Putin. What was Haziel's job supposed to be? Scourge Israel, right? Scourge apostate Israel and rip up pregnant women with children, right? So the anointing doesn't identify the person necessarily just getting into office, but getting into office to do a certain work. Do you follow? Right now Trump is in office, it doesn't mean he's been anointed. What was supposed to happen at 9/11 that the Lord had to send Islam to distract? The Sunday law. And was Trump campaigning in that history? No. Yes, he was. He was supposed to be president in 2001. Under which, what was the name of the party? The Reform Party. He was wanting to reform America. You're going to see that Sister White talks about Jehu. She says Jehu was to carry out a successful reform in Israel. Yes. But did Trump make it into office to do that work? No. Did Putin make it into office to do that work? No. He became president, but the work was to scourge Israel. Is he scourging Israel now? No. So he hasn't been anointed to do that work. You follow? Yes. So we have that. So this is one of the arguments that can show you that Jehu is strong at that level. It's a very simple argument, but it's profound. And then we read on. But what I want us to see is that the anointing of Jehu is taking place at midnight. Because the characteristics that we show you, the opening of the door, the tarrying of the door, make it at midnight. It can't be any other time. You see that? His anointing is the characteristics of AD 66, which is a symbol of a constitutional debate or convention. We see a tarry not and a flee, and a door open, which marks a change of dispensation. Because midnight has been typified by October 22, and on October 22 there was a door open, which marked a change of dispensation in the ministration of Christ. Jehu is a classic example of a Pharisee if you run his personality in the spirit of prophecy. Jehu is the 10th king of Israel from Jeroboam. Jeroboam comes into prophetic history in the time of the fourth king, who was Rehoboam. And it has been shown that the first 4 kings of Israel line up with the 4 Medo-Persian kings brought to view in Daniel 11:2, with Rehoboam being the one who aroused or stirred up the 10 tribes to come to view, and making Jeroboam their leader, thus leading to the development of 2 parallel kingdoms, Judah and Benjamin, which is the USA, and the 10 northern tribes, 10 kings, which is the UN. I'll explain. In the time of the 4th king, Jeroboam and Rehoboam are interchangeable symbols of the 4th administration. So Jeroboam is the 4th king, who lines up with the 4th president of the USA, because we understand that the number 4 marks the fall of a kingdom and the scattering, and when the USA falls, it will be scattered towards the 4 winds. Let me explain that one. There's some, I hope I can make it very simple. It's a bit complex, but it's simple. Let's just follow the logic we used yesterday. There shall yet stand 3 kings in Persia, and the 4th one shall be far richer than they all. And what is he going to do? Stir up war against the realm of Persia. And then says, and a mighty king shall stand. Question, students, purpose. Who is the 4th king who's far richer? Yeah, Trump. It's Xerxes, but it's Trump, right? Who's the mighty king? In verse 3. And it says, and the mighty king shall stand. Historically, these were 2 different people. This is Xerxes, this is Alexander the Great. So I'm asking the question, if Xerxes is Trump, who's the mighty king who stands? Why Trump? Huh? Pardon? Michael?
I'm saying root 10 symbols and significations.
Yeah, it's good to say root 10, and it's good it's root 10 because Alexander the Great is the leader of 10 kings. Yeah.
Are you talking of some as an individual, or are you talking on an individual basis, or are you looking at the whole administration?
Well, yeah, Trump is an administration. He's the figure here. But my question is this: how do you prove from the Bible that Xerxes? We've identified that Xerxes is Trump, right? But then some people are telling me that the mighty king who stands is also Trump. How do you show that this is still Trump? Huh?
It's because of the development of the parallel kingdom.
Okay.
I think also there is a verse which is saying, the kingdom will be divided. Then this king is not standing for his own nation. But Trump will cease to stand for American Constitution.
Okay.
But I don't know how to phrase it. But he will be standing now for the United Nations. So meaning to say the American situation dies, then the UN comes up.
Yeah, that's a good
so it seems as if it's shifting. It acts as if it's
I get your logic. I like the vein. So let me try.
I know it in myself.
No, it's in the right track. Let's try and show it from the Bible, because it was a problem personally for me for a while. Like, how do you show that it's the same person, right? Because it says, "And the mighty king." Historically, they're different people. But let's look at that verse clearly. I hope I didn't have any notes. If we get there, we'll just skip it. And time is running out. 15 minutes. Because it says, and a mighty king shall stand up. So after we've been told of Xerxes, we're told that a mighty king shall stand up. What all the covers is telling us is that the rise of Alexander the Great is showing a change of political role of Trump. Simply from being the 4th king, but to being the mighty king. But we need to be able to show it clearly from the verse. So personally, this is how I would approach it. And the mighty king shall stand up. And when he shall stand up, his kingdom shall be broken and shall be divided towards the 4 winds.
Yes.
It shall be broken and divided towards the 4 winds, and not to his posterity, and shall be plucked down. Right? So it says what? Alexander the Great was the leader of what? Greece. Right? Who's Greece at the end of the world? UN. UN. Technically, does the UN have a king?
No.
What does it have? It has kings in the plural, 10 kings. So this is a kingdom of kings. Revelation 17 says, they have not received what? A kingdom. So it is what? Their kingdom. So the UN is a kingdom of what? It's their kingdom. It cannot be identified as what? His kingdom. Do we follow that logic? No one king. Yes, we identify that the United States is the premier king. But the UN is their kingdom. It's not his kingdom. So whoever this person is, this kingdom that's being broken is not the UN. It's his kingdom. You follow? But he's the leader of Greece. Meaning at this point he's now leading Greece. Because Alexander was the leader of what? Greece. So what this is showing you is this. There is a king that stands, right? And he's now leading which nation? Greece. So this king is leading Greece. When he takes up this role of leading Greece, what happens? His kingdom is broken. Because Greece is what? Their kingdom. Do you follow? This is their kingdom. So the kingdom that's being broken there is not Greece. Right? He's just become the leader of Greece. And the same time that he's just done that work of becoming the leader of Greece, his kingdom is broken. It means that this person has got a what? A kingdom in the singular. Right? So Greece is their kingdom. And if you look at Revelation and Daniel, we're to study them because the same line of prophecy is taken up in Revelation as in Daniel. There's only one time in the book of Daniel where you see this word, their kingdom. Right? In Daniel chapter 8, it says, when it's talking about the 4 Greek divisions, it says, in the latter time of their kingdom. You see that word? And then the only other place you see it is in Revelation 17. When it's talking about the 10 kings, it says, they shall give their kingdom. You follow? So when Alexander, so the 4 ones of Greece that break, it's their kingdom. You follow? It's their kingdom. So what's being broken there is his kingdom. So it's not Greece. Because when his kingdom is broken, what happens to it is divided towards the 4 winds. And what are the 4 winds? It's the UN. So when his kingdom is broken, a worldwide kingdom then emerges. We follow? Does everyone follow that?
Yes.
Because Revelation, Daniel 8 says of Greece, of the 4 ones that are divided towards the 4 winds, it says it's their kingdom. So when Alexander the Great takes up the role of leading Greece, his kingdom is broken towards the 4 winds, right? Which means when his kingdom is broken, you now have a worldwide kingdom emerging, which is now UN. Do we follow that? Is it simple? Do we follow that, right? Yes. Okay, maybe I'll explain that one on the side. But do the majority follow? Yes. So his kingdom shall be divided and shall be broken towards the 4 winds, which you can identify that the United States is conquered by the UN, right? It's scattered among the UN. And shall be plucked up. Who does plucking? Papacy, right? So, who did we say of the 4 Medo-Persian kings brings the Sunday law? Yes, 4 Medo-Persian kings. Who brings the Sunday law? Xerxes. Xerxes brings the Sunday law, right? Yes. And what's Alexander the Great? When is the United States broken? At the Sunday law. Isn't it broken at the Sunday law? That's when it's broken and divided, right? Towards the 4 winds, right? So who's Xerxes? Is Alexander the Great, prophetically. So if Xerxes is Trump, who's Alexander the Great? Trump. So is it okay to identify, so we can see that they are both interchangeable symbols of the same person, just identifying different roles. We see that. So let me just read on.
Okay, so so you mean to say even Rehoboam?
Even
Rehoboam.
that want to get there. That's what I want to. I had to put that so that what I'm going to say next makes sense.
But are you still going to answer the question of who is the mighty king? Or you've answered it?
I've answered it. It's Trump leading the UN. When he stands up as the leader of the UN of Greece, the United States is going to be broken. Because in Revelation chapter 17, you've got the sixth kingdom being the United States. But the kingdom that comes after the sixth is the seventh kingdom. Right? And the seventh kingdom is made up of 10 kings. And the kingdom that overturns the sixth kingdom is the UN. But the UN is going to have a leader, and that leader is going to be the United States. Because it's the premier king of the 10 kings. Because in Revelation chapter 13, what does the United States do when it speaks to the dragon? It tells what? Who? The whole world. So who is it now leading? The UN. So who's the leader of the UN? The United States. And when the United States becomes the leader of Greece, the UN, what happens to the United States? It's broken, it ceases to be a kingdom. We follow? Yes. So here it says, one other line to show that is the second witness to the four Caesars of pagan Rome, which are Pompey. Okay, so I forgot to mention something. It says, his kingdom shall be broken, right? The United States is going to be broken. His kingdom, not Greece. His kingdom shall be broken and divided towards the four winds, and not according to his dominion which he ruled. Right? So it's broken. The kingdom that he ruled is broken. And that word to say dominion, who knows what it means? Elder Kabbalah mentioned it. Parallel kingdom. Right? So whatever his dominion was, it was a kingdom that was parallel to another kingdom. Do we follow? So his kingdom, the United States, at some point becomes a parallel kingdom. It becomes a kingdom that's running parallel with another kingdom. You follow? Yes. I will explain that as we go.
Are we speaking internally or? Are we speaking internally or? This is the parallel to the UN.
Yes, his kingdom is parallel to another kingdom because it's a dominion, and that word dominion means a parallel kingdom. So his kingdom is parallel to another kingdom. He has a dominion, a kingdom, which is parallel. Meaning that when he's ruling his kingdom, there's also another kingdom that's coexisting at the same time. Running parallel to his kingdom. We're going to clarify that as well. I just want to wrap up. I know this is complex to try and put together in one study, but at least majority of people are getting it. It says, one other line to show that is the second witness to the Caesars of pagan Rome, which are Pompey, Julius Caesar, Augustus Caesar. Then the fourth king being Tiberius, and Tiberius you said is Trump, isn't it? Yes, and then it says this. Tiberius Caesar, the fourth king, establishes a parallel kingdom because he abandons the capital constitution. After that, he began to live and rule from an island called Capri, and Capri means goat, and he ruled there for 10 years. So, in the time of Tiberius, he abandons the capital city, and we're going to show that a capital can be a symbol of a constitution. So, when he leaves the constitution that he was currently in, it creates these parallel kingdoms, because he then begins to rule from an island called Capri. So, he was ruling how many kingdoms? Two kingdoms. So there were parallel kingdoms in the time of the fourth Caesar. So in the time of the fourth king, who typifies the 45th president, he's going to be ruling one kingdom, whilst he's also the figurehead of another kingdom. So he's going to be leader of two parallel kingdoms. So I'm saying Alexander the Great is the one who's identified as having a parallel kingdom. We follow? Alexander the Great. But Tiberius, who lines up with Xerxes, is also identified as having a parallel kingdom. And Tiberius is the fourth king. We follow? Therefore, it means that the fourth king and Alexander the Great are the same person. That's the contention I want to make. Do we follow that? They're the same person. Because the fourth king, Tiberius Caesar, rules parallel kingdoms. And Alexander the Great is the leader of a parallel kingdom. Do we follow? You've been agreeing. I'm just adding extra dynamics, but the principle
with Alexander, you need to prove how.
Okay, I'm running out of time. Tiberius Caesar is the fourth Roman ruler. And who does he line up in this history with? Trump, the 45th president, right? But did Tiberius Caesar have two parallel kingdoms? Yes. But from the line of the Middle Persian kings, who's identified as having a parallel kingdom? Alexander the Great. So Alexander the Great is Tiberius Caesar. We follow?
You are now moving fast.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's even if it means I just finish there with this point. Let's walk through it one more time. It's together, right? In affirmation. One more time. There shall yet stand 3 kings in Persia, and the 4th shall be far richer. Who's the 4th? Xerxes. And who did you say Xerxes typifies? Trump. Right? Line upon line, because Rome establishes the vision. Who else did we see that typifies Trump from the Roman rulers? Tiberius. Right? And Tiberius is that parallel kingdoms, didn't he? Rome and Capri. But he's the 4th king. So Xerxes, Tiberius, Rehoboam, they are both symbols of the same person. The 45th president. They are both the 4th king. Just different symbols of the same person. But this 4th king, Tiberius Caesar, has got a parallel kingdom. But in the line of the Middle Persian kings, it is not Xerxes who's identified as having a parallel kingdom. Who's identified as having a parallel kingdom? Alexander the Great. So if Alexander the Great has got a parallel kingdom, which is a characteristic that only exists in a 4th king, therefore who is Alexander the Great? He's the 4th king. When it says, "and a mighty king shall stand," it is only showing you the change, a change in role, as Elder Covers was saying. He's no longer just functioning as the 4th king. He's now functioning as a mighty king.
Wait, so
It's a change in political dispensation.
Alexander the Great, did he really,
Cut out for 5 more minutes.
did he have,
7 more.
Huh?
You have 7 more.
7 more, good. Yes.
did he have 2 kingdoms, or you are bringing together Xerxes and Alexander the Great because Alexander the Great conquered Xerxes?
I'm reading it from the verse perspective. There's other ways you can prove it, but I want us to see this one first.
So Alexander, did he have parallel?
The verse says his dominion. And that word dominion means a parallel kingdom.
Oh,
So
it's
according to the
a
verse he has. Then you can go into history and see if it's true, of which it has to be. But I'm saying just from the grammar, he has a parallel kingdom.
Oh.
Before you see it in history, the Bible shows that he has a parallel kingdom. You follow the logic? Yes. So let's now go to the line of Rehoboam. So David, Solomon, Rehoboam is the what? King. 4th king. But in the time of the 4th king, what do you see emerging? 2 kingdoms. So when did the 2 kings come into history? In the time of which king? The 4th king. Therefore, Jeroboam and Rehoboam are interchangeable symbols of the same person.
Yes.
Right? It's now showing you Rehoboam is a leader of Judah and Benjamin, a 2-horned nation. But at the same time, because the Lord could not split Rehoboam into 2 people in the same person, right? Because they're human beings. So he had to bring in another symbol that's showing you a transition. And he had to use then Jeroboam. You follow the logic?
Yes.
So Jeroboam then comes in when the kingdom is divided. And when it's divided, you now see Jeroboam rising up as a leader of who? Of the 10 kings. You follow?
Yes.
So Rehoboam and Jeroboam exist at the same time in the 4th administration, which is in the time of Rehoboam, is where Jeroboam is also functioning. So I'm saying Jeroboam and Rehoboam, they are both symbols of the 4th king.
Yes.
But one symbol is showing you the 4th king being the leader of a 2-horned nation. But the other symbol, Jeroboam, is showing you the leader of the 10 tribes. Showing you that this leader is not only going to be the leader of a 2-horned nation, but is also leading the 10 kings. You follow?
Yes.
Yes, at the end of the world. So they are interchangeable symbols of the same person. Just like our Xerxes and Alexander are interchangeable symbols of the same person. Right? Just identifying different roles. Okay, so let's read on for 5 minutes. It says here, so he rules from Capri, which means goat, for 10 years. And then what happens to the mighty king when he stands? What happens? The kingdom is not given to who? Yes, posterity. What's a posterity? Children. Right? So the mighty king's kingdom is not given to his posterity. And who's the mighty king?
Alexander the Great.
Alexander the Great. Right? Now let's read on. Historians will tell you that Tiberius did this after the death of his son. So he abandons the capital city to live on the island called Capri because his son has just been killed. We're going to get into that. His son was killed in the revolution that took place in Rome. Yes. So his son had been killed, whom he hoped to be his heir. So the kingdom was not given to his posterity. Yes. So Tiberius is the 4th king, but he's got characteristics of Alexander the Great. So the 4th king and Alexander the Great are the same person. Because the kingdom is not given to the posterity of the mighty king, but this mighty king has got characteristics of the fourth king. So the fourth king is the mighty king. And then it says, the death of Tiberius' son is what made him turn into a tyrant. From that day onwards, he became cruel. So at that level, you can see that Jeroboam is a symbol of the fourth king. His name means to quarrel, and Xerxes is the king who will enter into a quarrel with the realm of Greece. When you look it up in your eastward, that word, he shall stir up war against, it means he shall seek a quarrel. And I've got there in my notes that Jeroboam means to quarrel. So Xerxes, what does Xerxes do? He quarrels, right? When he stirs up all against Greece, it means he shall seek a quarrel with Greece. And Jeroboam means to quarrel, if you look in the notes. You follow? So Jeroboam and Xerxes, they're the same person. So Xerxes is the fourth king, therefore Jeroboam is the fourth king. You follow? Just building further, right? In closing, this last part. From Xerxes to Alexander the Great from Xerxes the Great to Alexander the Great was anointed king of Middle Persia just before the last Middle Persian king died. So I'm now answering your question. What actually took place, some historians will tell you that when Alexander the Great was going to conquer Middle Persia, isn't we know that in this history there were other kings after Xerxes that the Bible doesn't mention for a specific reason. But it's okay to go into that history to take them to illustrate a different truth. So from Xerxes to Alexander the Great, you actually had, from Xerxes you had 9 other kings. You follow? Then Alexander the Great, when he's going to conquer Middle Persia, he is actually anointed as king of Middle Persia by the last Middle Persian king, whilst he was also the king of Greece. So he had a parallel kingdom. So if there are 9 other kings after Xerxes, and then Alexander the Great is anointed as king, he becomes king number what? Number 10 is the rise of the 10 kings. We follow. Because it's leading Greece, which typifies the UN, which is the 10 kings. Right? And then it says this word, last portion, yeah? Then I'm going to say, yeah, from Jeroboam to Jehu, you have 10 kings. If you count in the biblical chronology, from Jeroboam, you have 9 kings, and then Jehu is the 10th king. So who's Jehu? He's Alexander the Great. We follow? Yes. We have 10 kings, Jehu being the 10th, so Jehu is Alexander the Great. Since Xerxes is the 4th king and Alexander the mighty king, the great are the same prophetically. It also means Jehu and Jeroboam are the same prophetically. So the anointing of Jehu at midnight is also the anointing of Jeroboam, which I find by tracking is at midnight. I find it interesting that Alexander the Great represents the US leader who will also lead the 10 kings, Jeroboam's 10 tribes. And these 10 kings have been typified by the Articles of Confederation. So I'll close here. Just one closing comment. I want to get into the Articles thing to confuse people now. But we see the structure. So we're going to show in the next study that when Alexander the Great stands, his kingdom is divided into how many parts? 4 parts. And how many sons did Jehu have that sat on the throne after him? The 4 sons. It was divided into 4 parts as well. We're going to show that in the next discourse. So, in closing, Jehu is anointed where? Midnight. So when is Alexander the Great anointed? Midnight. Where is Jeroboam anointed? Midnight. Right? They're interchangeable symbols of the same person. So shall we pray? We can always discuss in the prayers. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this study. We know that Lord, some concepts they can be complex, but Lord, you promise to give simplicity. And I pray, Lord, that if there's anything that we're not understanding, may we continue to repeat it, for repetition deepens impression. Help us, Lord, as we prepare for the next segment, and be with us, Lord, that we might be refreshed to continue to understand these truths in a clearer light. In Christ's mighty name, Amen.